Talking too much, Marie.
I know. I'm always
Hey, you know what? They're showing us on the screen. I don't know if we're being taped or not.
We are.
Are we being taped?
This is for professional services, you know, in case they don't.
You're live. Go ahead.
Are we? There's no music. Is there sound? Okay.
You're good.
He said we're
Well, welcome to God's Way, YTVY. I'm Adolphina, Shephard. This is my co-host, Thomas Knight, Templar.
I don't even know how to answer that one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. Go ahead.
Well, that was a surprise. They didn't let us know we were coming on right away, so you'll have to forgive that. But as usual, we have a wonderful show lined up for you tonight and several wonderful guests. We're going to be talking about, this is part 2 of the elementals. So such things as leprechauns, divas, faeries, trolls, etc. Imps, yeah, and that type of thing. And we'll also, if we have a little time, go into what's happening right now. So, without further ado, let's go to our first guest, Marie Gilbert. She's been on before. Yes. You might recognize her. So, Marie, tell everybody about yourself a little bit that may not have seen you before.
Okay, so I'm an author. I have 4 sci-fi books out, the Roof Oasis series. And a 5th book that's coming out hopefully the end of this month is called Life with Fred and Lucy, and growing up in South Philly, and it's about my parents' grocery store and growing up during the early 50s and 60s, and it's also a tribute to the 2 ghosts that live in my attic.
Well, you know, is that your mom and dad?
That's my mom and dad.
Well, you know, when you're telling this, I'm immediately thinking Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, right?
Your mom and dad are in your attic?
They hang in my attic, and if they're not in my house, they go visit my sister Lucy and my daughter. And everyone knows when they're around because things go flying off the shelves. My father likes to pound on the wall. We know they're around.
Okay.
Right?
More than makes his presence noted.
They make their presence well known.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just thought that you still owned the store.
No, I wish we did, but we did drive by the store.
Yeah.
During Easter week, we went to South Philly to get.
Is there still a store?
It's the building's still there, but there's a beauty shop there instead of a grocery store. But,
All right.
yeah.
All right, and now our second guest, Shelley Shayner. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who haven't seen you on before?
I'm also an author like Marie. I've written a few short stories, and I'm working on a novel currently. I'm also an illustrator. I've been involved in metaphysics for many years, and I teach classes in dreams, symbols. I do some workshops for find your totem animal, find your special fairy. So I definitely like all that stuff. I'm very interested in it.
Fabulous. Well, you know, the last time we were talking about the elemental kingdom, I had some visitors after the show.
Why?
Yeah.
Tell them why.
And because I had mentioned something that's, I don't even want to mention it because I don't want to start it. I don't want to start that again. But anyway, so you know, the part that always interested me is one of the things is trolls. Now, the only troll I've ever seen on TV is the one in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah. Right. I know a lot of people. Oh, that troll should be on the bridge.
Right. Right, but you know what, in my mind's eye, I kind of see them smaller and under a bridge near water.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
you
that's
know.
what they are. They're under a bridge for a purpose, and the purpose is kinetic energy from the water. That gives them power and empowers them.
Right.
They're always by a bridge on the near water.
I somehow think they're kind of green, though.
They are.
They're green. Have you seen them?
I haven't personally seen them. I've seen people who project them on TV shows and things like that as being that way. But I would just say that they match the flora and fauna of the area. Would you say that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's how they camouflage themselves.
By the way, I'm getting that you got to start to claim shaman.
Wow.
Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Okay.
You still on live TV.
You saw it. Came to me.
gotta do is gotta be a shaman. Yeah. Well, it's funny because in part of my story I'm working on, the main character has to go across the bridge, and she has to solve a riddle. And part of the riddle has the word trolls in it, and she's terrified to figure out what the riddle is, because what might happen. So she does figure out the riddle, and she doesn't meet a troll, but she actually falls off the bridge. So, but
It's a happy ending.
it's a happy, but a dragon saves her, you know. But a dragon. That's part of my story.
Oh, okay,
There's this
okay.
dragon. But trolls, you know, and when you think about bridges are as a symbol. You know, when you've done a lot of inner work and you cross the bridge in your dream, that's what it means. So if you're afraid to go across the bridge, it means you're afraid to finish or do some kind of work, a rite of passage. So if we look at it that way, and we look at trolls, you know, they could represent our fears, you know, of crossing the bridge and doing some more work.
All right.
That's just my deep way of saying it.
Okay, yeah. You know, and another one I've always been curious about is the leprechauns. You know how, now I wouldn't mind if they brought me a pot of gold, you know, that's what they're supposed to be known
In your
for,
case,
right?
they brought you the Hershey's chocolate pot of gold.
No, I think
You know.
I prefer gold,
But you
thank
have to feed them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
What do they eat?
Blarney.
They'll eat anything, but you have to encourage them to come around, so you have to make sure you leave food for them, and people don't realize that.
Oh.
You have to give before they'll.
Oh,
You might find if you leave the food out for them, you'll probably get raccoons.
right,
But,
right, probably.
Yeah.
You know. But it would thank you nicely, you know.
Now, do you know anything about leprechauns?
No, I just know about gnomes, that they're probably in the same family, that the gnomes they love trees, and they're related to the earth elementals. But you don't want to make any bargains with gnomes, because they kind of get the upper end of the bargain, and they love shiny pennies. So if you go in the woods, throw out some shiny pennies. They might do you some favors, but don't sign any contracts.
It doesn't look good. Who's she talking to? Look this way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now you're scaring me.
Yeah. So, okay. So the gnomes.
So you're saying that gnomes are like kind of shysters of the little guy?
They can be tricky. You know, they're like, you think of the dwarves in The Hobbit.
Right.
You know, they always.
Every time they depict gnomes, they see him sitting on a mushroom on the side of
Yeah.
a tree or something like that. Is that what they do?
Yeah, well, yeah, but they take care of the earth because of the earth elemental.
Okay.
You know,
So the tricksters.
they're tricksters. Yeah.
I don't think the leprechauns are connected to taking care of the earth. They're more tricksters that way too, where they'll do you a favor, but you have to give more in return. I don't think they're connected that.
Now, I think that's where the Rumpelstiltskin story
Yeah.
came from,
Yeah.
and you can see how it was a trick,
Right.
right? They don't make any bargains with them.
Are you
Because
talking about leprechauns or
le-
gnomes? Or
They're all the
both?
same. I think they're all in the same family, because we're talking about the earth elementals. Okay, so the leprechauns have fallen to that, and Rumpelstiltskin have fallen that.
Right.
You know, and the gnomes. The gnomes are actually the earth elemental, and then you have the sylphs, which is the air elemental. Then you have the undines, which is the water elemental, and then the salamanders are the fire elementals, and then all the faeries spring up from that element.
Okay.
Each different element.
Now, what do they look like, the undies? Do you know?
Mermaids.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I was told I was a mermaid by 2 or 3 different psychics in one life.
There you go.
Yeah. And I've always had an affinity for mermaids.
Yep. Yeah.
Huh, okay, well that makes sense. Now what about the fire elements? Do they fly?
Well, the salamanders, that would be dragons.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, 'cause
little
Dragons
dragons or
do
big
fly.
dragons?
All dragons, because it rules fire. So as an element, you've got volcanoes, right?
You
You've got fire, all fire.
Salamanders is a ground newt that stays in.
But that's the name of the elemental.
Oh,
They're called
they classification.
salamanders, and
Yeah.
the element is fire. And then from you have all the other beings that are part of that element.
So I guess what you're saying is it's not the lizard type thing that
No.
you're
No,
thinking
no.
of.
They
Yeah.
just call it that. But you think if it's a salamander, then that's you can see the dragon. in
Well,
that,
I would
right?
think if it was a salamander, it would be like a shapeshifter that can change its colors,
Yes,
like a salamander can.
yes.
You know, so kind
So-
of makes a little sense.
So are you saying that when you mentioned the volcano that perhaps it's a dragon spirit?
Could be involved in that. And everything has a spirit in it, like a
Right.
mountain has its own spirit, a lake,
Right.
river has its own spirit. There's a guardian in every forest. You can call on a guardian for your house. You can invite them in. Elves, in particular, like rosemary. So you can plant rosemary by your door.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
big are they, do you know?
The
Elves.
about this high,
Oh,
3 feet, 2 to 3 feet.
The same way you'd think of a dwarf maybe, or a gnome or a leprechaun.
They really wearing a green little outfit, are they?
No.
So I
Are
wonder
they
if
going hi ho, hi ho? Okay.
I wonder if they're all the same creature, just like different tribes or whatever.
Well, there's different types. There's lots of different fairies. If you go and get a book, there's tons of all the different fairies.
Not all of them
the
are friendly
pixies.
to people.
No, there's some bad ones. You know, I
Don't
know
mention that.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you got the flower fairies, which are the pixies. You know, so that's part of the air element, as well as there could be the earth element.
Which ones are those?
The pixie flowers.
Right. And they're
They're
good
the
or
pixie
they're-
flower. No, they're good, usually good. And then you have the sylphs. You know, again, if you wanted to look at the element, you can see them in the clouds.
Oh,
I've seen them before in the clouds. I've actually called them in to help clean up any toxins in the air.
and what do they look like?
They look like angels.
I see angels in the clouds
Yeah,
all the time.
and they could be sylphs. Yeah.
And what they can be any size, or are they big, little?
Well, if you want to see them, you would see them in the clouds.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they would be, if you want to call on the air spirit, you're
Yes.
actually calling on this
The
type
sylphs.
of being.
Yes. Yes.
And how do you spell that?
SYLPH.
Okay.
So you have them, you call them primarily to clean up chemtrails and all that stuff?
That's what I do.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a great
See,
idea.
I knew you,
That's
because
a
we
great
discussed this already.
idea.
It's a
That's a
good idea.
great idea.
You can ask them for help, and they'll help clean up the earth or the sky, the air. You know.
When you're out in your little wooded commune, okay, who do you primarily deal with there out of these elementals?
Mostly the gnomes, because I'm sitting by a tree,
Okay.
and that's where they like to hang out.
Okay.
Do you find it when you sit there that they come, they're curious and they know you because you go there all the time?
Yes, and I
they-
leave them lots of pennies.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
do you leave them pennies?
How about
Always
that?
have to leave a gift.
Always
Oh
leave a
yeah,
gift. Yeah.
is that what they value though?
Yeah, they like, well, that and green. I did a meditation, I found they wanted green stones. So any crystals I had that were green, that's what I brought. And
When you go back, are they there?
well, I can sense them, I don't see them. But
No,
I,
she's talking
No,
about green
are
stones.
these stones
No,
there?
no, I bring them as gifts.
And
No,
are they
listen,
there
Paul.
when you come back?
When you come back the next time, are the pennies there? Are they still there or are they gone?
Some are there and some are missing.
Okay.
Huh. Very interesting. Now, how do you know about the leprechauns that you have to feed them and so forth?
I was always interested in like the old myths and how they tied into what's happening in the world. Did they carry over? Because you call them the old gods.
Yeah.
Are they carried over to
Yeah.
modern world? And I think they did come over. They did come over when the people were coming over. But the thing is, here, there's really no strong beliefs in
That's what I was just
nature.
about to say.
And I think that's why you don't see them that much, because of our disregard for nature. And if we,
Disregard for nature, disregard for the environment and everything
right,
else.
right,
They are not, they had been made into a fairy tale.
Yeah,
right.
a joke,
And therefore,
basically.
it shows no validity. So when
Right.
you're talking about these things to the average Joe on the street, right, they take you out of your mind,
I know.
you know? But they don't know that these things have basis in fact and truth,
That's right.
all right? Nobody just came up and said, oh, I'm going to design a thing, I'm going to call it a leprechaun,
Right,
you know? It was called a leprechaun because it was here before you,
right.
And remember, like in the Harry Potter movie, the elf, Dobby, remember him?
Yeah.
He had such power when his old master turned on Harry Potter, you will not touch Harry Potter, and boom, he went flying, you know? And they're really quite powerful beings. They have magic.
All right.
Now there was, I imagine in Ireland and Scotland, that energy and the belief is still very strong, I think.
I think so.
You think so?
Because there were people who were raised in the tradition that this was here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that this happens. And if you go to this portion of Ireland, this thing is there, these leprechauns are there. And everything is so green there, so, and you say they like green,
Right.
you know, so there you go.
And look at how other countries actually protect their environment
Yeah.
and their land
Right.
compared to here. So their spirits are stronger.
Because it's pristine land. You know, it's untouched and unpoisoned.
And the people still believe.
What is it? Listen, there's a lot of different beliefs about a lot of different mythical creatures, they say, unicorns and things like that. This had to come from somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just didn't make it up that you had a horse with a horn in his head,
Right.
you know, and wings, and the Pegasus, you know, and all of these things. They talk about the phoenix, the bird they see out west,
Right.
the Midwest, stuff like that. A lot of people have seen this. Huge flying birds, and they're not condors,
Right.
you know? They call them firebirds. The Indians call them firebirds. So, you know, there's something more. Just because you haven't personally experienced or you were dumbed down, told that these things didn't exist, it's your part of your imagination. Your imagination brings you everywhere. Doubting your imagination keeps you stifled in life.
Right.
You
That's
know,
pretty good, wasn't it?
that's true. You know, it's exciting to think about it. And a lot of things people don't realize is a lot of these myths are true. I mean, there is a Thor. You know what I mean? There is a Thor. There is a Taut. You know what I mean? A Taut.
A tart?
Taut. Like T-A-U-G-H, but it's T-H-O-T-H,
okay.
right? And there are these beings that people think aren't real, but they probably still exist in other dimensions, you know?
Oh, they exist in this one, but the lack of belief in it. You know, look at Santa Claus. Let's use Santa Claus for, you know. By the time a kid is about 5 years old, they already tell them there's no such thing and all of this stuff. But if you believe in that and you keep what's wrong with the kid having the belief? What's wrong with that?
Well, supposedly,
What you do is you de-sanctify the story behind that. Okay? You take away the element of that innocence and that goodness of making toys and giving it to people and dropping them off for the children. Because you know what that song says, the children are our future? You can bet they are. All right? And the way you bring them up,
Right.
and the things that you teach them to believe in, okay, is the thing that's going to set the tone for how this country is going to go. And for that matter, this world. Good?
true, very true. Yeah, it's a sin the way many gifted children, like I remember Carol was talking about that. You know, she was gifted from the time she was a very young child, and her parents shut her down. You know, she was shut down, and this is what happens to many people. I remember my nephew telling me, "Oh, there's a monster in my room." Well, you know what? Sometimes there are monsters in the room. You know, and people have got to be a little bit more realistic because these things do exist. So you want to check it out.
That's right.
Definitely. You know, and I mean, let's just focus on good things, but with the elementals and so forth. But I find it totally fascinating, especially the unicorns. I really would love to see a unicorn or ride a Pegasus or, you know what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely.
Now, did we miss any that you can think of? We talked about the fairies last time,
Yeah, we talked about the tree spirits last time.
the tree spirits.
And I do believe in the tree spirits.
Right.
I do believe in it because I had a tree that's outside my house. It was dying. My husband kept cutting away the dead parts, and I said, I'm going to go out and just talk to that tree. Of course, I have to watch so my neighbors don't think I'm like off the wall, but I would go out.
No, I already called him. I told him,
Have
don't
you-
bother going outside. It's a nut job out there.
I'm a nut job. But I go out and I just touch the tree and I hold it and I was talking. It's blooming like you wouldn't believe this year.
You ever think that you energized it by touching it?
Well,
and you gave it love?
But it has its spirit.
Yeah.
My spirit connected to its spirit, and it figured, all right, I'll give it one more try. And it's blooming like you
What
never.
kind of tree is it?
It's a plum tree.
Oh, plum tree, okay.
Beautiful tree, beautiful flowers
Let's
that come
figure
out.
sometime by the end of the summer we'll be able to pick fruit off of you.
Well, they're little tiny plums. I don't even
Go
know.
right along with this.
But yeah, you can have some of the plums.
Okay, I can have some of the plums. You heard it here first. I can have the plums.
Well, I remember when we learned that evil spirits, when they're crossed over, they go into the elements. So that means that the trees are actually beings. Every blade of grass is a being, you know, and the water are beings, and rocks and crystals. But see, people don't understand this. So, and then it gives them a chance to evolve again. You know what I mean? Into a purer being than evil. But many of them are so old, and they have such wisdom. And do you remember or ever hear about the recorder crystals? That's where they actually have recorded
they're
messages
imprinted,
to
they're
give you
imprinted.
information.
Oh, all right.
Very much like the Superman movie.
All right.
Okay,
yes.
very much like that, where literally, I mean, that was really high-tech stuff. But,
Yes.
I mean, I remember some of the people that I worked with over the years, they have at different times bought crystals, and some of them were recorder crystals that had information or a message to give.
Is it a specific crystal?
No,
Or it's just
This is
a crystal that has
crystal
recording?
quartz.
Yeah, it's something that was used to place a message in. And I imagine whoever did it would use whatever crystals that were nearby. So I don't know if there's a specific crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about
Be
that.
interesting
Well, the
to
ones
find
that we
out.
use on Superman, they look like the strikers that we have.
Yeah, they were quartz, yeah. And I think it's selenite. They were the
Okay.
ones that were in the Superman movie, right? The big white ones, the
Right.
long
I have
Long
some of
ones,
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
selenite. I have a couple of them too. So
They said to put them over the doorways in your house.
I got on the four corners of my house. What I did is I got a bunch of selenite quartz, big ones, and then I sat with them within my lap, and then I just prayed over them and set my intention as what I wanted them to do, and put it in the four corners of my house, and it created this womb. And when everybody comes in, they can feel this protective womb.
you know, that's actually called gridding the house.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and I had I was doing feng shui on my brother's property, making it into a square so it would flow right. Because it literally, my sister-in-law couldn't sleep because the house was a big L. And so the energy would go boing, boing,
Right.
boing, boing. So I gridded the outside underground. And it started going around, and she started sleeping again, right? Well, then they renovated the house, and outside too, with the landscapers pulled up all the crystals that were buried. So I have them all in a box now, and I'm going to grid the new house with them.
That's
you know,
all. Yeah.
yeah. But I'll do what you said. I think that's an excellent idea. Pray over them, talk to them,
Set your
and
intention.
set the intention that they will grid the property, protect the property, and so forth like that.
Bring love into the house and
Right.
Yeah.
cast out anything.
Yeah.
They cleanse away the negativity.
Right, and
too.
protect
So
you. yeah.
Right.
when I do my angel card readings, in between readings, I'll put those crystals on top of the cards to cleanse the cards before I do the
Between
next
the next
reading,
person, yeah.
You put them. I put them outside in the rain when it's when I want them charged, and I keep them in the
Right.
window. You know.
Yeah, and in the windows
moon.
good because
Yeah,
the sun
the moon
and
will
the
cleanse
moon
it,
will
yeah.
clear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the now another thing. And do you have anything else to talk about with the elementals?
The
Just don't be
sea,
around.
who's the sea elemental that maybe we can all pray to help cleanse the ocean?
Isn't
They're
that
the undines. Undines.
Okay, is there anyone in particular of the undines that we can call?
King
No, you
Neptune?
would just-
Titan, King Neptune.
Yeah.
Each ocean has its own ruling diva, which is like or high archangel, and there's a spirit of the ocean as well.
Well, I do know one thing. King Neptune is in this area. I don't know where Poseidon is or the others that you're talking about, but I was doing a meditation in a land clearing with a couple of other friends. This is going back some time, but it was really cool. Anyway, one of the girls all of a sudden goes, and here, while we're doing this, she could see King Neptune leaped out of the ocean with his trident to find out who was doing this and what we were doing. And it actually was kind of scary because it was so unusual at that time, because we're going back a long time.
Where was this, in Jersey?
This was in Jersey, down, I think it was like in Margate or whatever. And he leaped out with his trident, and she was scared of him because he came up with such power, and she felt so uncomfortable we left. But I don't think he was a bad being. I think he was just protecting the ocean, and he could see we were helping the ocean.
Well, I probably wanted to see who was casting energy towards the ocean.
Yeah,
from
exactly,
present.
exactly. But she said
yeah.
he was like a huge being, huge, came right up out of the air with the trident.
Tastes just like chicken. If you hook them, you pull them in.
Oh, Tommy.
What?
He's going to get you. You better not go in that ocean.
I'm not going to go water anytime soon.
He's going to pick you.
Oh my God.
He's got a sense of humor. I'd have a sense of humor.
Oh my God.
I don't want to be fish bait. Anyway.
Oh my God. Sorry, that was funny. Oh Lord. So anyway, on the way up in the car, we were talking about what's coming next. And Shelley has been studying this and following it. And I want to talk about that if we're done talking about the elementals, because it was really fascinating, because I think the change that we've all been waiting for the awakening of mankind and for the unfoldment of new good things to come, the planets are now aligned with that. And I believe in it so strongly because one time I was having a conversation with Father God, and he said to me, he said, astrology is my mathematics. You know, and so it's on a time clock based on astrology. So
I was watching something on TV when they were showing that they, through one of the probes they put out there, they had found another planet that's Neptune-like, beyond Neptune, which is right on the border. They think it's a rogue planet that might have been sucked into our solar system, right, by gravity from Neptune.
I remember
now-
reading about that.
And
Yeah.
now, and it's a planet.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's a planet. You know what I mean? It gets very, very little warmth and light from the sun. However, it is by its gravitational pull in our solar system now. And I was telling you about the picture that Josephine took. She took a picture of the sun about 2 weeks ago. And what comes out right behind the sun is Nibiru. Now, this thing is supposed to be in an orbit of a 364-year, like an oval, like a track
Right.
orbit. It takes 364 years to go around the sun. And yet this thing shows up in photos here. I'm telling you now that this is not a planet, this is a ship.
You think it's a ship? Well,
I
I
know it's a ship.
Well, last year I was walking around the
Nibiru.
track, my exercise, little track by the same woods I go to, and I looked at the sunset, and I saw two lights in the sky, and I just watched and I took a picture of it. Here's the sun, and here's another light. So what was it? I thought another planet or something, and
Well,
there's
see, she had that same type of thing, that it was two lights,
Right.
but people say, oh, it's the aura of the sun. No, now when the sun is this big,
Right.
and this thing is this big,
right.
that's not aura,
No.
okay? So that was Nibiru that came for a visit, because it can come out of its orbit. It projects itself here.
A lot more people are seeing some
Yes, and
anomalies in the
yes.
sky, and,
Yes,
and
they are.
so
Well, you know, the
Taking
veil's
pictures.
getting thinner, and there are supposed to be, what's the word for it? Like Kuan Yin has her retreat in one part, and then Archangel Michael would have his here, Mother Mary, etc. All
When they
the
talk about the many mansions.
yeah, the many mansions, they have their own divine temples and so forth in school and so forth. And this might be starting to bleed through. You know, we might start seeing some of that pretty soon. And also, senior moment, continue on.
okay.
I see. Okay.
So tell us about this planet until I can remember
All right,
what I
all right,
was
well,
thinking.
Well, I'll move to astrology because
Yes.
that's kind of in the planetary field. So,
Yes.
For those of you who know or don't know, there's been two big changes. The planet Chiron, which is the wounded healer, was in
Yes.
Pisces, my sign for many years. It just moved into Aries. And the other planet, big one, Uranus, which is in Aries now, is moving into Taurus. And when planets like that move into signs, it heralds a big shift. Okay, so the planet Chiron is the wounded healer, so it shows you where your wound is. Moving into Aries, Aries is a sign of self and identity, goals. So what's going to happen, you're going to see a lot of people have identity crises over the next 9 years. They're going to want to know, who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Okay?
Right.
The other one is Uranus going into Taurus. What does Taurus rule? The body, the earth, what you value, and money. Uranus is all about revolutionary change. So you're going to see a lot of change in those areas, individually and collectively.
In the next 9 years.
The next 9 years.
This is the 9-year
So
period.
this is, so we're going up to 2025. We're going to see some major changes. We're going to see earth changes. You're going to see changes within the financial system. Like, we're really going to see changes. And that doesn't mean you're supposed to be afraid. It's just change. Things are going to shake up. People are going to wake up. People are going to really start to move,
right.
especially with keeping the environment clean. Like, we can't just keep living like we are on this planet.
We're making a cesspool out of the
Right,
planet.
and the animals and the plants, like, I feel like I have to speak for them.
Right.
Oh, you
'Cause
do?
I do.
You
But
do.
I feel like I have to speak louder, you know. Hey, you know.
The more people are
Right,
waking
right,
up.
right. So because we have to wake up to who
Right.
we are. We've been asleep for a
Right.
long time. You know, who are we? What are we about? What are we
Well,
doing?
Who are we?
This levels of awareness are growing.
The people who we are is listen. You're not. I'm not Thomas. And I mean, we're Thomas given a name on this earth in this period, but you're not who your name is.
No.
Okay, you're a child of God. You're God's essence in you. Okay, you are a soul ensconced in this envelope that we call a body. This envelope is fallible and it will die, but you will not. All right. And people are so quick to think, oh, you know, I don't want to cross over, you know, I'm going to be judged and this, that. That's because you've been trained. You know, they gave a
Right.
little snack to you and gave you all this jargon and what's going to happen to
Right,
you.
right.
So whatever you empower and you believe, you receive. There was a Star Trek episode like this where they didn't realize they were put on an amusement planet and anything you can think would occur. You would manifest it. Okay? We are on that very same planet. If you take concentrated thought and you constantly think of it, then you will manifest it, good or bad. All right, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because they think that you're asking for it. If you're over there going to be doing the things, like I said, you know, I'm sick, or this, that, I'm this, I'm that, you're going to be that. And that's going to
Law of
happen.
attraction.
Law of
Well, it's
attraction,
the
yeah.
law of attraction for sure, but the whole
Right.
point of it is that there's a lot of people take the law of attraction and they just think it's all about manifesting. It's not all about manifesting, okay? Because it's about you and your search for who you are.
Right.
And who you are as a child of God, that's all you need to know. Who you are, recognize that you look in the mirror, that is who you are. A child of God and nothing else. Nothing else matters. All right, you're just passing through, but you're here for a mission. All right, and that mission is to spread the rule of love. Love in everything. A lot of people say, oh, how could you ask me to love somebody? I really hate them. Well, keep on saying that. You know what you're going to know? Only people who are going to hate you right back. All right? Send love. You have a bad situation, send love to it either.
Right.
Okay? That's how you remedy the situation. We don't want to learn that because it's not sophisticated enough for you trendoids out there in the audiences. Okay? But you have to learn that you are a child of God. Okay? Never mind your notoriety on this earth at this time. It means nothing. You understand that? It means nothing. It's what good you have done here and the love you have spread that will get you
Right.
to the ascension. That's it.
What do they talk about too, about the innocence of children, and children will judge angels? So see, I think it's more in the gaiety of life and the joy and basically being nice to everyone. I mean, there's no reason to be mean or nasty to someone. Maybe you're having a bad day and it's a glyph, but you know, to go around like that all the time, you're only bringing hardship to yourself.
You get these people, that's all they constantly say. They come around you, they bring this negative aura with them, and blah, this is bad, and blah, and this guy's this, and this guy is no good, and that one is this, and this one does that.
They feed the negativity.
You know, they are feeding into the problem of this world. Let me tell you something, like I said a million times here, if you took all the leaders of every country in this world, and you just took them out and got rid of them, do you think there's a person here in the United States that hates some woman working in a rice paddy in China? Okay? No. You don't hate them and they don't hate you. It's just that limited people that run the countries that make you hate this group and hate that group. And that's what's become here. And it's fueled by a media that loves negativity. Do you ever see good things on the news? Do you really ever see it?
Nope.
It's one horror story after another, and at the end they put a little puppy and a bunny, and they think that that's going to make your whole day wonderful. It's a crock. It really is.
Well, you do what God told you to do. Live in the world, but don't be part of it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Live in the world, but don't be part of
That's
it.
right. In
And
my
then you
world, these things don't exist.
Right.
You know, I've traveled a bit, and everywhere I go, people are the same. You know, they may speak a different language or they may dress different, but generally speaking, they all want the same thing. They want to provide for their families, they want love, they want joy, you know, and peace. And then it's a learned thing to learn how to hate. You know what I mean? It really is.
It is.
You ever see children, like pictures of children, they don't even think of race, for instance, you know, they're just children and they love each other, they want to play, you know, and it would be great to get back to that.
It's like that song, you got to be taught to hate and fear. You know, it's from South Pacific, I believe it was. And it really is true. You know, it starts at home. You teach your kids.
Well, you know, all these new wonderful innovations are starting to come out. I mean, and this has to do with what Shelley was talking about too, with all the new things coming forward that's going to be invented and a change and everything. I mean, there was a machine or a video I saw with, they used it for another thing in medical science, but now it goes into, say, a clot. And it sucks it in and it disperses it. So they don't even need to put stents in anymore. You know what I mean? People are sucking, they're creating machines to suck plastic out of the ocean.
Yes.
And you know, put the water back fresh. Other places are making pipes, sewer pipes and water pipes that are machines that when the water runs through it, it powers their houses and the electricity. I mean, but most of this stuff, a lot of it is around the country, you know, I mean, around the world, I mean, and so we need to bring some of that innovation here, you know what I mean? And start moving forward.
Well, yes, but you know what? Bringing in the innovation is fine. But one thing, man's greed will put a price tag on it so high that even if you got away from gas and oil, you still be paying the same price for whatever they put in.
True, but we have Uranus going to the Taurus, which is our values and money system.
Right.
So, and Uranus is also it rules Aquarius, which is the sign of the humanitarian.
Right.
So you're going to see a lot of humanitarians come up. So I'm just saying, the old paradigm is dying. And I can feel it. So we're going to be the ones, you know, we've been waiting for and pushing for positive change. It's going to happen. And something Adolphina was also talking about was about these new innovations. I've been waiting for a long time. I know there have been suppressed patents, many of them, kept from us, new ideas and things, right?
How about how many doctors and researchers they've killed?
Right. It doesn't matter. It's not. Here's something somebody said. I really like this analogy of a butterfly. Okay, when a caterpillar it eats and then goes into a cocoon. When it's before it goes through its metamorphosis, there's these butterfly cells that pop up on the pupa, right? Well, what happens is the caterpillar cells see it as an invader, and they start to attack the butterfly cells, right? Just the individual ones. And suddenly the butterfly cells just take over, and what do we have? The butterfly, right? That's humanity. That's what we're going to go through.
I feel you're right. Absolutely.
Hold that vision, and this is the other key, and I'm always learning and studying. So I'm reading this thing called the seven Hermetic Principles, and you can look it up. And one of them is the law of mentalism. And it states that all is mind. All is mind, meaning our minds are so powerful. And there's another part of that that says the law of mental transmutation, which means through our mind, through our thoughts, we can transmute matter. Now, adepts can do that, right? But we can do that too.
Yes.
And we have to start changing the way we think. I've been working on
it's not
rejuvenation and health and healing. You just have to start telling them, I love you.
It's not even the way you think, okay?
Sorry.
Keep in mind that because of who you are, because you know, and I know, she knows, and she knows, right? Is that we speak that which is not seen into existence.
Yes.
Right.
Okay? So if you're going to be speaking some terrible stuff,
You're
well,
going
guess
to bring
what?
it in.
You're going to be having it in your life, you know?
And it's going to be happening quicker. So the law of karma, cause and effect, right? Because things are speeding up on the planet, the frequency is going faster. So if you start saying things, good or bad, it's going to come back even quicker.
Yeah.
So you'll learn through cause and effect.
You know, one of the things that they did in Africa, somebody learned how to get moisture out of the air so that everybody can have drinking water. And somebody else created some type of thing that bakes. And somebody else over there created electricity out of like some really simple thing. Now that's the humanitarian you're talking about.
Yeah.
These people don't have the
They must be
things we
channeling
have
Tesla.
here.
Yes.
Must be, right?
Well, that guy, you know, I was watching a documentary about that, and it was trying to say that he was murdered.
Oh, I
Yes,
believe
He was
I
that.
heard that too.
murdered by the Nazis.
Oh yeah, they took his, you know,
His
all his
patents.
patents and everything disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, the
Government took
we got
it.
that.
And suddenly
Yeah.
we have anti-gravitic devices and
Yeah, and all of this
jet
stuff,
propulsion and you
you
know.
know.
He was a brilliant man. And his way would have been nature friendly.
Right.
His
Not only
way
that,
of-
his name would have been nature friendly, but he was talking about the Earth has surrounding units that go around it that are energy fields, and he knew how to tap into that. So a lot of people say that he was attached to the Akashic records. He was able to channel that and then go and take that information and put it into practical use.
Right.
All right. I mean, he dwarfed Edison. Everybody talks about Edison.
Yeah,
and
right.
Edison couldn't shine his
Tesla.
shoes.
Right.
No.
No, he wanted to have free
I tried to
energy.
tell you, man.
Right.
He wanted to have free energy for everyone. He had
And that's
figured
why
it
he was
out in
killed.
some way.
Did you see the thing he built on Long Island?
What?
It almost looked like the thing at Coney Island with the parachutes that came down.
Oh, yeah?
But he never got to finish it because the funding, Westinghouse, I think, pulled the funding.
Dried up.
course
Yeah,
it was
because of
dried up.
course they make their money off of,
Well, he wanted-
electricity,
Standard
selling
Oil, too.
electricity,
He
right?
was losing a lot of money. He was losing a lot of money, and he bowed out of it. And if he would have stayed in it, we would have got the free energy that you should have had.
Well, I
But the
think
whole-
we're about to get that. I know different people have these devices in their own homes already. I've seen some. I've crowdfunded some of them. So, but it's not mainstream yet. Again, we've got certain forces that don't want to
Of
come out.
course.
Right.
It's the
Why do you-
tide
The
is
tide is
turning.
coming, and we've got this great
The
solar
tide is-
storm coming our way.
Right.
That's people can feel it. Other people have been talking about something called the event out there. You can go look that up. So there are great changes coming, and they're good ones.
Right.
I mean, let's not be negative anymore. We really don't need to be. We don't need to create this story. What are we telling ourselves?
Right.
Right.
We need to tell ourselves something positive. We need to have a positive vision for the earth. If we're not going to get in the movies, books, or TV, we should do it ourselves.
That's right.
You know, I was telling them on the way up that I saw something. I just read the headline. I didn't have time to watch it, from Space Weather News. And it talked about shock waves that are coming into Earth now. And I can't wait to find the time to get in there and read that, because this may even be the event you're talking about that
Right.
people are talking about, So it would be very
Well, a
interesting
lot
to
of these
see.
things are coming from, like, they talk about light years, all right? Now, something could be like 1,000,000 light years away. And that light that starts to emanate now that you see, that is from, like, our ancient times. but it's finally coming down here in our modern time where maybe we have more of a comprehension of what it might be, or how it could be useful to us. You know, the things that we will learn, and the things that we will do, and the goodness that will come to this earth will only come through love. And we don't start with that message of love, okay, you're doomed to repeat the problems of the past.
Well, that's true. Just like Atlantis, they were supposed, you know, they were so advanced, and then they crashed and burned, and you know, so we want to avoid those errors and mistakes that they made.
Because that's when secular man interjects his stupidity.
Yeah.
All right, they cannot possibly grasp the fact that when you give love, you actually benefit not only yourself but the other person.
You know, I think.
So why wouldn't you do that? You don't have to love them like you want to marry them. You just give them love because they're another fellow human being.
Because they can't control you then.
That's right. That's the exact thing.
And see, a lot of them too are psychopaths who have no emotions, and so love means nothing to them.
Well,
you know,
sure.
they
Control
don't
powers.
feel
Because they feed
emotions.
They feed off the. I
power.
Fear.
I just one up to you.
It's
They
the
feed
power.
off of fear too.
Yeah, they
And
feed
our
off the fear,
like
yeah, and the power.
vampires.
Well,
Right.
you know, so that's why when you're questioning, they don't have emotions. And you know what? It was a shock to me. I found out that there are actually soulless beings on this planet, and that was a shock to me because I didn't
We
think.
talked about that.
I didn't think that
Yes.
there could be a being walking around that didn't have a soul. You know.
They're drones. Is what they are. They're drones. They're automatons.
I used to think sociopaths were.
Well, they might.
In the beginning, when they used to try to diagnose them, in the beginning they would say they were soulless because they just
They
there was no right or wrong. They, you know.
Well, usually the thing that's said about that is that when they're coming into their inception, right at the time of their birth, a negative entity jumps in there, and their soul is trapped and goes back, and this negative entity is in there. So it's a lot of the stuff that happens at birth, you know. So what are you going to do?
Well, I imagine that could be true, although
It's not
I
that
don't
I
think.
imagine, it
yeah,
is
but
true.
I don't think a soulless being,
Not soulless, not
I was
soulless.
going to say because that negative
soulless.
entity would be the soul, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do.
They hijack the body.
They hijack the body.
That
It's
happens
like
a
the
lot.
body snatchers in reverse. You know?
Never thought about that, like that they hide in the
No,
body,
there's a lot.
and then the soul says, "I'm not going in there with that
not,
with that
no.
being, right?"
No.
Huh?
We have about
Just
7 to 8 minutes, so let's wrap this up. Shelley, any closing remarks that you'd like to put out there?
Just that, you know, it's just really important to, like Thomas said, to focus on love and to first heal yourself. Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Love
You have to
yourself
love
first.
yourself first.
Do the inner work. This is
That's right.
really hard for people. Even myself, you know, to work on if there's an issue, you know, work on your emotions, heal the hurts, forgive yourself. Do yourself first, and then you can
That's
go
right.
help others.
That's right.
You know, try to figure out what your higher self is. What is that voice? Get some psychic development going. You know, see a healer. Do all this stuff for yourself first. Love yourself, and through that you can heal the world. And that's going to do more than anything to help others. By you healing yourself,
Raising
you're going to
your
raise your
vibration.
vibration. You're going to become Christ-like. Think how much that can do. And then you're going to be able to hear the guidance and know what to do.
There are so
Then
many-
you're going to manifest soulmates and all these things. But you got to heal yourself. You got to find out what's not working.
You know, that's all very well said and very well thought out. And, you know, what I would add to that is that if you are a bad person and you consider yourself to be an evil person, maybe it's time you realize you too are a child of God and that you too can transform and that you too will be welcomed back by God. And so there's still hope for everybody.
Right.
There's hope for everybody. We're all children of God. We came from God.
That's right.
So just, remember that.
Yes.
Marie?
Right. I would end with live in the moment. That's what I tell people. Your fear comes from the past, your regrets, your pain, your hurt. Cut that loose. Your fear is of the future. Live in the moment. And I think you would find a lot more happiness if people just concentrated on what am I going to do today that's going to make me and the rest of the world a better place. That's it.
That's a very good thought.
Yeah.
And it's living in the now where
Right.
you truly find joy and peace.
Right.
If you want to make a pie, Shelley's been making
Yes.
pies
Oh,
lately.
I love this
I like
pie.
it.
You can actually have a great time making a pie, or even me. You might think I don't like the house clean. A lot of people don't, but you know what? I get into a rhythm with it when I'm doing it, and I'm in a zone, and as long as nothing disrupts me, it's like a working meditation. You know what I mean? That's how
Listen,
it
I
is.
clean my house too, but I ain't no damn meditation. I can tell you right now. But
Yeah.
it's never good enough when Moses comes home and says, "It's already out here. This is wrong over there. That's no good over there. Why is that there? Why did it rain today? I don't know." No, don't work like that. I don't consider that any kind of meditation whatsoever.
Well, wait a minute. When you were doing it, it wasn't
It
bad,
was a
right? When you were
meditation,
doing it, it was a working meditation. It was just not looked upon as such, and that was not so nice.
Listen, everyone, if you have to learn to love yourself. It starts with you first, and then you can progress, and you can progress that and give that to others freely. Okay. They can reject your love all they want, but it's not going to do anything to it. It's still going to take root. Okay? Be the love. You see somebody who's down and out of their luck, and they're outside someplace, and just help them out. Buy them breakfast. Get them a pair of sneakers. Get them a coat if it's winter time. Do something for humanity. We're each other's brothers, our brother's keepers. And if you don't start to do stuff that's not only benevolent for others, it's also benevolent for you. It blesses you. So why wouldn't you do it?
Well, yeah, it actually said it in the Bible. We
Yes.
are each other's brothers.
Not
Take
only
care
that,
of your brother.
Jesus said the poor will always be with you, and you have to take care of the poor.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that's all true. That's so true. And so, I want to think about now what's going on for May. What's coming on for
George.
next month? We're
George-
going to have
George
George
Costanza.
on next month. And do we know who we're having on yet with him?
It's probably going to be Josephine, since Mary is somewhat under the weather still.
And so that will be an exciting show. And we have some other exciting shows coming up where we're going to dive into iridology, but on the emotional, mental angle of it, what can be seen
Would you tell them
in
what
your eyes.
iridology is?
Oh, iridology is a fascinating, I consider it to be one of the greatest of diagnostic tools. Now, optometrists may disagree, but you can go, it's analyzed by a computer, and the tech who is trained can see in your eye all your health problems, what you might need to be deficient in, what you can replace, and so forth. But they can also see the
Who's
soul
coming
in
back,
there.
Brigida?
Yeah, Birgit. And also one of her students, I hope. So that would be great, because now we're going to tackle the emotional, mental aspect of it, which before we just tackled the physical, pretty much aspect
Okay,
of
let's
it.
tackle the closing credits here.
Okay.
All right, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Antonio's Pork Store for the food in Tottenville, and Aardvark Pest Control and Great Kills for paying for that. For getting us that spread. And I'd like to thank our guest, Shelley
Yes.
Shayner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shaman.
Shaman.
That's your thing. Claim it from now on.
Right.
Shaman.
Shaman. Shelley Shaman.
Yes.
No,
Well,
that's
all right.
adorable.
No, you're right
That's
about
really
that.
adorable.
You're right about
And Marie Gilbert, writer, author extraordinaire. Okay. You happy with that? Is that a good enough title? I'll give you top billing next time. All right, don't worry about it. And it's for Sis here, Adolphina Shephard. We got 2 minutes 2 minutes goes to 4 here, I can tell you.
Well, you know what? I wanted to mention. Let's see. In June, we're going to have wonderful herbalist on, and if I can get the person I want in some oil for aromatherapy and the medicinal healing aspects of that, and I'm not sure what's happening in July yet.
You getting Mother Theo Rose back? Is it for you?
No, but you know what? I've been thinking about having these a couple of young folk that I met that are wonderfully, wonderfully gifted, and
We should do a show again on that. This time with with the young people who, like what Carol did with Madison.
yeah.
You know, we should have that on because they're young and they're new into the, I won't call it the arts, into
Right, and to
This-
be awakened at their
Spirit
age is wonderful.
It's
Yeah.
terrific. We
Yeah.
can
You know.
carry
It's
that
good
the
to
rest of their
support
life.
that.
Yeah, and so we're looking forward to that. Now, the one thing that I'm still trying to find is a good pet psychic
Okay.
that would,
I might have one for you.
We have
Okay.
one,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
George Casasa's friend also does that too.
yeah, because that would be
We'll wrap this
wonderful.
up.
So
All right.
there we have it, folks.
Say
That's
goodnight.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
We'll
Say
see you
goodnight,
next
Gracie.
time.
Good night.
All right. We got to stretch it now?
Yeah.
Okay,
See?
So good
So-
night, everyone. Okay. Thank you for the guys in the booth. Take a wave. All right. And our camera guy, Richie.
Thank you.
And Christine, full voice camera guy girl. And invited guest, Bob. Say hello, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Okay. All right. We usually have more than one.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
night.
Good night.